A Guide to Conscious Living. My name is Archana, and I'm the founder of Conscious Living Center. Conscious Living Center is a platform which is set up to help people live a more conscious or aware life. The platform is open for people from all age groups, and I congratulate you all for taking this next step in your lives towards becoming conscious. And I hope we will have a journey of learning from each other, which will be quite exciting for all of us involved. Before we actually get started, may I request all of you to please switch off your mobile phones for the next 2 hours. One of the reasons we get most distracted, are not able to concentrate on anything, is the invent of a mobile phone. I believe on an average, we are looking at our mobile phones more than 110 times a day. Seems absolutely crazy, isn't it? So, I don't think we are going to miss much if we can just put our phones off for the next 2 hours. Those of you who are unable to put it off because of having young kids and waiting to receive some important information, or you have to have your phone on for any other emergency, may I request you to please put it on silent and turn the phone around and keep it. And maybe every half an hour, you can have a look at that. How does that sound? All right, moving on. The session we are doing today, we are calling it a session on conscious living. Of course, I would like to reiterate that this is an introductory session. And the idea of these sessions is really to let people understand about the different aspects of conscious living. So we will not be able to go too deep into the term itself, or more importantly, how to become conscious, because for that there are many, many, many steps, as we will understand towards the end of this program. And we will need a committed approach to doing that. Just coming for one program, listening to something over a period of 1 hour, 2 hours is not going to really help us become more conscious. We will have to make a dedicated approach for that. All right. So, one of the things that I wanted to ask is really, do you all think we all are living in one sense, but do you really, really think you're living your life? What would be your answer? I like the sincerity and the honesty in your answers. Yes, if we were all really, really living our lives, we would be actually feeling somewhat like this. Sometimes we may feel for a moment or two, but actually, most of the time, obviously, we are not feeling this way, right? But we do want to feel this way. And probably that is one thing that has brought all of us here together today. At least to figure out, are we really living our lives the way it's meant to be lived? Now, if you don't think all the time you're in this state, let me ask you, do you think you are probably existing but not really living? Now, the symptoms of a person who is in this phase will be somewhat like this. May I ask you, like, what do you see in this picture? Do you relate yourself? Basically, time just moves on day after day after day. There's a routine that you're going through, but nothing is really making sense. And you are looking out of the window and pondering, seriously, is this life? Does it make any sense? Now, you may feel, oh my God, yeah, I think I'm here. Good realization, isn't it? But you're lucky. Even if you're here, at least you are not just surviving. Now, gosh, what does that mean now? If you are just surviving, then these are some of the symptoms you will be suffering with. Now, do you relate yourself or anybody you know who is in this condition? When we look at the papers today and see somebody committing suicide, somebody killing somebody over a small stuff, or um, a person who is just in 30s, dying of a massive heart attack, most of the people having mental disorders, depression, diabetes, hypertension, and so on. We should just pause for a moment and think, is it all because they are all in this state? Now, if you are not, you're lucky. But if you are, you need to really pay attention and set things right before you become a news. Now, let us just look at this very, very basic question. When we started off the session, we all introduced ourselves to each other. And normally, when we introduce ourselves to each other, we introduce by our name, our qualification, our designation, or a role that we have in life as a mother, father, spouse, etc. But I would like you really to think a little deeper on introducing yourself. Now, we say that this is my name, this is my qualification, this is my designation, this is my occupation, right? But these are all yours. Who are you? The real you. Now, today I am known by my name, Archana, in some circles, and I have another name called Ashtasaki in another circle. Now, does that really make me two different persons? Or am I the same with two different names? Many of us have a name that we are called in the house, and we have a formal name. Does that make us two different people just because our names are different? Now, instead of calling you, Kamal, if I call you Rajesh, are you going to become a different person? Hmm. If not, then obviously your name is not you. Now, most importantly, when you come to this, the best example I can think of is, when a person that for example, who has a name, who has qualification, designation, everything that by which you actually, kind of identify him, and then the next minute the person goes through a heart attack or something like that, or an accident, and the person passes away. Usually, whatever we identify the person with, we can still see that right in front of our eyes, right there. But still, we say the person is gone. Something from within that person is gone, which makes his heart stop beating, makes his blood flow stop, makes his lungs stop pumping. What is it that was there and now is not there? Now, even science says that there is, life after death experience and so on, out of body experience. Now, who is experiencing that out of body experience? Who is it that goes out of your body and then comes back into the body? So, obviously, the body is not us. But we have that body. So it's a part of our identification, but it cannot be all. So, can you try to take 5 minutes now and really use the paper that I have given, the worksheets that you have? Try to write down, who do you think you are? And we will then all share what we think we are, and maybe we will learn a thing or two from the introspection that we have or from what we hear others say. All right? So please go ahead and start writing. The first time when somebody asked me this question, I was wondering, oh my God, if I'm not Archana, if I'm not a trainer, if I'm not a coach, if I'm not a woman, who the hell I am? And this is how I kind of felt. And then I was desperately wanting a mirror in the room so that I can really go and have a proper look at myself. Because I really didn't know for a moment if everything that I identified myself with is not me, then who am I? So if most of you are feeling this way, don't feel awkward. That's actually the normal reaction. But you'll come around it. This is good. So, friends, from what each one of us shared here, depending on our own experiences in life, we realize that when we say, this is me, we are somewhere a combination of body, mind, and spirit. Body is more at the gross level, mind is at the subtle level, and the spirit or the soul is the real thing, which is the subtlest. And when you become, conscious, you first become conscious of your body and then mind and then spirit. So you're like an onion and you just need to peel your layers off to really figure out the real you. So interesting, we are quite a complex being. Now, do you think so much of intelligence, so much of complication, so much of intellect, mind, we have for a purpose? Because once we are born in this world, we are quite sure that we also die. So anybody who is born has to die. And that's not really our choice. But what is the purpose of our life? So, do we mean to say that we are supposed to just prepare ourselves for death while we are living, possibly? Or do you say that there is something else that we have come here for, that we are supposed to attend to while we are living? Or do you think, no, we just happen to be here and then, you just, as some people say, just do what everybody is doing and there is really no choice and kind of it feels that we are born to pay bills before we fall sick and die one day? Seems quite meaningless. What's your take? A couple of common takes that I have heard, I'm putting up on the slide here. And let's discuss this a bit on what do you all feel about it. Super. So I'm glad to understand that all of us believe that there has to be a purpose. And without a purpose, it can be actually pretty difficult to live. Every morning, when we have to get up, if we have absolutely no purpose, the purpose may be as simple as you know, getting your child ready and sending the child to the school, or getting up and getting ready to go to office, or just getting up and, cooking the next meal for the family. But if we didn't have anything necessarily to do, would we even feel like getting up? Even the most optimistic person would very soon start feeling very depressed. So, we all agree that we definitely should have a goal. In fact, as somebody very beautifully put it, the tragedy in life really doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. So, the question is now, do you have a purpose or goal defined in your life? What do you think happens when we set a goal? Okay, this is what I want to be, and this is what I think the purpose of my life is. How does it really help us? Does it even help us? Let's talk about this a bit. Think about it. Put down what you think. Superb. So, as we all agree, just having a goal is not enough. Once we have a goal, we will have to really make plans as to how we are going to achieve that goal. Otherwise, we will be like that blindfolded person who is shooting in the dark without having a clue in which direction he should be shooting. And he hopes that by doing that, he will actually reach his target. How on earth is that possible? In fact, it is said that if you can really, really have a proper aim and purpose in your life and really meditate on it and make it crystal clear, like somebody gave an example during our discussions right now, Arjuna, even when you are blindfolded, you will be able to shoot the arrow exactly on your target. That's the clarity we want. We don't need these external eyes then. Now that's what we are calling conscious living. Can we become so conscious of where we are headed, the life we want to lead, that even we are blindfolded, whether we have any external support system or not, our conscious being will know how to really arrive there. So now let's look at our own lives. Let's not talk in general because this is not a topic which can be really looked at in a way you look at, other subjects and just learning knowledge for knowledge's sake. This will be effective only and only if we are using these sessions for introspection, answering these questions very, very honestly and sincerely to ourselves, and then look through those answers, see what it's telling us, and take the steps that are necessary to improve and go to the level that's next to where we are. Make sense? Superb. So, when we think of let's have a purpose in life, let's have a goal in life, and I was asking some of you earlier, like, do you think you're living your life? And some people said, you know, as a parent for a long time, your life is just focused on your children and so on and so forth, which is true. But so in life, do you need to have only one goal? Can you have multiple goals? Are the goals in your life only decided by you and depending on you? Or is it dependent on other factors and other people as well, circumstances as well? Can you have multiple goals? Do they have to be related? Or they can be independent of each other? Now, these are all the questions that you have to ask yourself, and please put down your answers in the worksheet you have on whatever is your belief and how do you want to set your life. And when do you think, ideally, see that right now we are doing some part of this exercise. Goal setting is a big exercise by itself, and we could have a separate session on that. But even if we are going to set the goals of our life today, and as someone very rightly said, goals keep changing in our lives with our experience, with our age, with our maturity, and so on. When do you think we should really start setting our goals? When does it make sense? So that at least, even if we have missed that age, we can probably help our children, help our students, help the people we can help to really start setting their own goals at that age that we find will be more appropriate. So I'll give you 5 minutes to look through these questions, introspect, write down what you're feeling next to the place you have in your worksheet with this slide so that you can go through it later and go deeper into the subject to set your own goal. And the last but one is an interesting question I have asked here. Who do you think should set our goals? I even find that a little funny question, but just think about it. Because for a lot of us, I think the initial goals are definitely not set by ourselves. And sometimes those initial goals set the pattern, set us in a groove in life, and we just go on with that because we're already there. And we think we need to just go through that because we're already there, or we don't have the guts that we need to really chart our own path. Example would be when you're young, right from the time when you select your subjects for specialization to the time you're joining your graduation or professional course. You all know what I mean. Most of us are engineers not because we wanted to be, but somebody around us thought that that is the most secure profession. That's the profession that gives maximum money and therefore probably maximum happiness. And therefore they guided us. And then once you are stuck being an engineer, and then worse, if you got a good job and a good pay, God forbid, you are stuck there forever. Sometimes I think pink slip was a good idea if you could take it right. So many people, when I go to these IT companies and talk to people, I find them so frustrated in life. There are beautiful artists inside them, musicians and painters and, people who are interested in adventure sports and so on. And they are stuck in front of a computer doing those testing and stuff like that. And they are, oh my God, there is no word I can use. They seem so frustrated. And when you ask them, okay, drop it, get out, now that you know this is not your thing, it's affecting your life, it's affecting your health, it's affecting your family life. Get out of this. Do something about it. And then they feel, no, how can I do that? Now I'm stuck. And to some extent, sometimes it's true also. It's difficult. It gets very, very difficult to do it later once you know you have entire family depending on your, paycheck. Not easy to take those kind of steps. Also in India, we don't have yet, it's getting better, but we don't have yet, training facilities available for different kind of professions, and therefore all you can think is really becoming a doctor, engineer, a chartered accountant, or one of those things. Where are the fine art, colleges? Even if you have colleges, after that, what? Where is the ecosystem to help you develop as an artist? So it's really, really hard. Now, thank God, with the entire digital, world coming into place, I think things have become really great. But still, it's very difficult, and I hope someday we will have a better ecosystem to really support all kind of people to go forward in their lives with their interests. Now, whatever is your goal, the reason I'm going on insisting that please put it down on paper, is because, we all dream. We all dream. As kids, we dreamed. As young adults, we dreamed. We dream even now. But they say that unless you put down your dream on a paper, your dream remains a dream. But the same thing put down on paper can become a goal and you can work towards it. Isn't that interesting? So somebody beautifully said it, don't just think it, ink it. And then there is a beautiful statistics. In fact, we apply this, data to support our what we do as a coach with our coaching. So basically, it has been found that if you not only write down the goal towards which you want to work, but also share them on a weekly basis with a friend and update what you're doing on that, then you have 33% better chance of reaching your goals. That is why, as coaches, we call ourselves accountability partners, trusted accountability partners to our coachees. So the coachees actually, decide for themselves and share with us what do they want to do, how they want to go about it. And then on a weekly basis, they share with us on what happened. Just by doing this, they are able to actually get the support of achieving their goals. So isn't this amazing? So please remember this whenever you're wanting to go about doing something. Now, yeah, you have a goal and you will develop your strategies and action plans to really reach your goal. You could go through some coaching and stuff like that, which will also help you. That's great. But if you have to really ask me one simple single technique that is best suited to achieve our goal, based both on neuroscience and spirituality or ancient wisdom, I would call that universal law of attraction. In simple terms, what it means is we are co creators in this universe. We have amazing powers. We create the world that we see and live in with our own thoughts. So, if we can really, really think and have a crystal clear image of what we want to have, it could be an object, or it could be like even visualizing yourself to become something. In either case, when you're able to visualize and really focus on that vision through process of meditation. So focusing your entire thought on that vision every single day, then that thought actually gets created, so gets manifested and becomes a reality. I hope it makes some sense. This is a science. So please, once you go home, Google Universal Law of Attraction. Even I will be happy to share some videos with all of you. And this is absolutely amazing. So we are actually extremely powerful beings. But most of us, because we do not know about it and how to really use the power that we have within us, we end up living just a animal life, In one of the slides later, we will come to how the composition of mind is, and I'll go a little bit more into detail on why we get stuck being just an animal and we don't really live a human life, which we're capable of living. But we can live only if we become conscious and aware of our capabilities and how to really use all those capabilities within us. Even Albert Einstein said everything is energy and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. Now, why he says this is not philosophy, this is physics, is because if you go and study our ancient scriptures, this is the point they're trying to make. This is the point that is being told. You're not this body, you're way beyond that. You hear all the time, they appear, they disappear, interplanetary travels are happening. You progress from one kind of life to the other. How to do that? What kind of practices will help you in that? All these things are explained beautifully. And in fact, once you start reading some of those scriptures, I promise you, you cannot find anything more scientific than that. And I really don't understand the basis of science. Every scientific theory starts with a hypothesis, possibility. So there itself, you're starting with something that's not real. That's a consideration, and then on top of that, you're trying to prove something. So I don't know really what is the difference between this and that. I mean, somebody says this is science, so trust me. And then they say science is something that can be repeatedly proven in exactly the same way. But then in science, you have things that keep changing. From Earth being flat to round to oval. Everything was science. Which one should I believe? So, really, this part of it doesn't make much sense. But actually, if you look at some of our ancient wisdom, some of those facts have not changed. In fact, all the things that we're calling today discoveries being made are already mentioned even more precisely in our scriptures. Only thing is, who would take the pain of going through them? You have a choice. You believe in Vyasa or you believe in Einstein. But you are believing in somebody and something that somebody is telling. There is no way you and me can start cross verifying every single thing that is coming across us. And only what is proven, I'll believe. There are things that you cannot explain. And in fact, those things are a majority. Even the air we breathe, we really cannot sense it with any of our sensory organs. But we just know that it exists and it's a prerequisite for all of us to survive. So please, let's all go deeper and understand really who are we? What is our real capacity? What is the purpose of this life? How should we really live it? And believe me, it's a very, very exciting process. Now, coming to the slide I was mentioning earlier, to understand this whole, consciousness and the way we live and stuff like that, at the core of it, scientifically speaking, there are thoughts which give rise to feelings, and these things give rise to action or behavior, and repeated action gives rise to habits, and a group of habits will actually make our characteristics. So, the most important thing is really how do we think? Because what we think is what we are. Now, human mind, if you see the composition, actually 30 to 40% is unconscious mind, 50 to 60% is subconscious mind, and 10% is the conscious mind. So, what this means really is the unconscious mind is almost like the animal mind that we are born with, like, the involuntary actions that happen, the sleeping, eating, mating, defending. Nobody needs to teach anybody these things. We are born with these skills are known to us. And these come from our unconscious mind. Then there is a subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is actually whatever behaviors we repeatedly engage in. We don't need to consciously then apply ourselves for that. And that gets stored in our subconscious mind. So it's like a RAM. So, the easiest example that we all can relate to is if you're going for a walk every day on the same, road, we just can think of so many other things while we are walking and still avoid all the potholes and everything. But if you're going on a new road that we are not aware of, then it's hard to really concentrate on anything else because we are all the time conscious about, where should we take the next step and where not, and what to avoid. Driving to office. The first few days, you're looking at the landmark, where to turn, how to go, what's happening, and then after a few days, it's a mechanical process, right? So all the things that we do repeatedly get stored in our subconscious mind. So right from childhood, whatever we observe, and then we learn a reaction and a response to what we see or sense. And those responses, when they're repeated in a particular fashion, becomes a habit and gets stored in our subconscious mind. And the next time, even if you're an 80-year-old person, that thing comes in front of you, or you smell that, or you feel that, or you touch that, and your reaction, your response comes out exactly the same way as it was when you were 8-year-old. right? Now, the 10% of conscious mind is actually, which is the mind that works, that lives in the now, and really is the beginner's mind, as they call it, a childlike mind. Is the mind that is really looking at everything with absolute awareness, is trying to understand and decodify things that it's looking at, and trying to make sense and relate to something that it knows, right? And label things so that it can recognize it easily. Trying to, when you meet new people, you're trying to actually remember their names. You're relating to things that you know with that word or that name, the other people that you know, and stuff like that. So, that time when you're living in the now, you're using your conscious mind. Now, when you say start living consciously, the idea is really how you can encourage your conscious mind to occupy most of the time you're thinking. So, how to become a beginner's mind? Every morning when you get up, how can you look at, your room and yourself in a way as if you're looking at yourself for the first time? Even if you're married for over 50 years to the same person, how can you look at that person next morning and feel as if you are meeting that person for the first time, and relate and do everything and speak everything as if you are actually meeting for the first time? It is an amazing experience, because most of the problems we have is because of the labeling, of the judgments, of the assumptions, of the memories associated that we have about a person, that makes us connect with that person in a particular way. And you remember Einstein saying everything is energy? Oh, it's so totally true when it comes to relating to people. We all say, yeah, I really like that person instantly. You know, our vibes met, chemistry worked. So we do know, and we have some experience of feeling this at some point of time, don't we? So this is what happens if we can control the vibration that we give out, that we can also control the response to some extent what we receive. Please hear me out carefully. Now, what happens is our subconscious mind takes over most of the time. So, when a person who I thought I didn't like because of something I saw in that person the first time I met, the next time the person comes in front of me, the reaction that comes from my subconscious mind is, I don't like that person. Oh my God. And the moment I say that, it's a negative vibe that goes to him, whether I say it or not. However pleasant I'm trying to be outwardly, but otherwise, from inside, if this is a thought that has come up in my mind, it has already been conveyed to that person. And that person feels it. And whether he conveys it or not through his body or language, his body, his mind will react to that vibration like a reaction to those kind of negative vibrations. Make sense? So basically, he gets into a defense mood. He gets a negative vibe, so he gives back a negative vibe, and it goes on. Most of the mother in law daughter in law issues can probably be looked at it this way. Once you have an impression because of some reason, and that gets into your subconscious mind every time you see each other, this just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. How can you change it? By becoming more conscious, by developing your beginner's mind, baby's mind. Start looking at everything afresh. Control and know when your subconscious mind is reacting. That's the way. And now you know, therefore, when you start living more consciously, not only can you live your life according to your conscious decision of how you want to live it, but also you can be a boon to others who are around you. There are many, many reasons that have been, very clearly brought out by people who are practicing conscious life as to why it is important to live a conscious life. Some of them are listed out here, and I would leave all of you to really go through this slide line by line later and put down your thoughts in the worksheet in the space given next to this slide. It's a very, very important slide. See, where do you need work? Where do you think you need to do some work within yourself to make it better? Is it your health? Is it your positivity? Is it your, flexibility, acceptability? Is it the presence of love in your life? Is it peace? Is it spiritual, you know, um, development? Whatever it is, think about these things. It's a very, very important slide. And I really don't want to run through it like a machine. So I want to really give you 5 minutes to go through this. If somebody has any question or would like to discuss something at this point, please let's do that. Also take a little break to really have something, some water to drink, visit the washroom if need be, and let's come back to continue. Now I looked at what is conscious living, why should we live a conscious life, what are the benefits of living a conscious life, where are we at this point of time, becomes an important starting point. So to identify where we are, we can say that there are basically 4 levels of consciousness, and we need to figure out really where are we at this point of time. Body consciousness is when we identify ourselves with our body. Mind consciousness is when we really realize, this is not something to be just known, you have to really experience it and you have to really be living by it. When you know that, there is a mind which is actually controlling even your body, and you're conscious of that and you consider that to be you. Soul consciousness, when you actually realize, please, look at this word very, very carefully. When you realize that beyond your body and mind there is a soul, and the real you is a soul which is witnessing what's happening in your mind and body, which is utilizing the mind and body that is provided to you. And you are somebody who is catering not only to the requirement of the body and the mind, but also the requirement of the soul. So you are living a very soulful life because you believe soul is who you are. And then there is God consciousness, where you actually have the awareness about, from where you come, why are you here, what is your relationship with your Creator. When these things become clear, then that Creator, that superpower, that energy, that Brahman, that God is what I mean by God consciousness here. Yes? Now, being conscious, so that means basically I am aware. I'm conscious, okay? I'm conscious that I should be God conscious. I'm conscious now that I should be soul conscious. So I can be said, I'm conscious, I'm aware. And living consciously, are they same or different? Totally, they are different. And we should remember that. So this is not a subject, as I said, to be learnt like, any other material subject, it's of no use. This has to be lived, this has to be experienced, this has to be realized. Now just think about it. Being body conscious, mind conscious, soul conscious, God conscious, are they really interconnected or not? So both ways, ascending and descending, right? So if you're a body conscious person, are you connected with mind consciousness, soul consciousness, and God consciousness? And then think of, if you're a God conscious person, are you conscious about your soul, mind, body? Yes, as some of you said here, when you're God conscious, you're absolutely conscious about your soul, mind, and body. Now, please understand that body consciousness and to some extent mind consciousness can be achieved by us making efforts in a specific direction. But when it comes to soul consciousness and God consciousness, it's a very, very subtle field. And it is not a ascending process, it is a descending process. So we have to only develop a deep, sincere desire to become conscious at that level. And then the supreme consciousness, our creator, the supreme energy, grants us that consciousness. Does it make sense? So body consciousness and mind consciousness efforts are actually ascending process. You can read, you can discuss, you can practice, you can achieve perfection in that. But when it comes to soul and God consciousness, what we call as blessings, punya, sukruti, all these things become very, very important, because otherwise, with this material body, we don't have the ability to transcend this material, cosmos. That special energy that we need to transcend and look beyond this material world has to be gifted to us, and we can get this only when we practice and get ready to receive it. There are still some things that we have to do. Without us doing, nothing will happen. But only even then, what I mean is, even when we have put all the efforts, we still need the grant or the blessing to come from that supreme being to become truly and really soul conscious and God conscious. Make sense? Super, wonderful. Now, this is all I wanted to actually share in this introductory workshop. But just before concluding, I really wanted all of you to decide whether you want to come to the programs of Conscious Living Center on a regular basis and get help, or you decide to go about it in any other manner with any other person or organization that you know of. When you decide, please decide based on what is your style of learning. Like a child, we all have our own specific style of learning. And sometimes it has to be a mix of all these different styles of learning for us to actually get the most out of it. So, whatever way you go about it, please make sure you're combining all these things and stay focused with one person, with one institution, with one group till you actually at least come to the level of some basic understanding, after which you can hear and then figure out whether what you're hearing is making more sense than what you know. Then great, accept that. And if it's not as deep as your understanding, then it's easier for you to reject that. But until you come to that level, please find the right institution, the right platform to get connected to. Like you look for a school for your child for education, you look at so many things. Before you join an office, you look at so many things. Same way, this is actually one of the most important things for you in your life, how to live life. That's what you're trying to figure out and learn. So please do your research. And one of the efforts that CLC wants to do is to really help you do your research to figure out where can you learn, what can you learn, what works for you, how do you know, where are you, what do you need next. We're here to at least help you find these things out, and then you can go whichever route helps you to develop your consciousness the best. This is it for me for today, but before we all split, may I please request you for an honest feedback on the session. And I have shared with you this sheet with these questions. I'd be really happy to hear from you. And if there is a question that is not asked but you have something to say, please write it down separately in the extra space that you have. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I really look forward to having you all again in the next program. Gracias. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me on my email ID that's provided here. Wishing you a very conscious life. See you again on 18th. Bye bye.